we have with us, once again, if you're joining us this morning, I had introduced them at the top of the hour, Jared Okello, who's a member of Parliament from Nyando. And also we do have with us Jeremiah Kioni, who is a member of Parliament from Daragwa, also the chair of CAC. CAC is the Commission Implementation Commission, Constitution Implementation Committee. Right, I normally just get my words, tangled up around it. We have Dr.Shem with us. He's a global leader of Kenya Diaspora Alliance. Also, we do have with us as well Samuel Pugisio, who is a senator of West Pokot. We do have with us also the senator of Nyamira, Okongo Omogini, joining us today. Right, let's just begin with this talk around Ruto right now to resign. And I know also, Jared, yesterday, at least you went to church. Congratulations, right?
Well, I usually go.
So good morning. Once again, I just wanted to pick up something that I read about you, and you said that Ruto should resign if this has been now the political tone and tenor around this war on corruption, that he is not really supporting the president, then he should resign. And this is in the Daily Nation today. Maybe just to flip over there to see what you said so that I don't misquote you. Then you say you were misquoted. This is on page 6. And you said, quote unquote, if Ruto will not work with Uhuru in the fight against graft and quest for unity, he should resign from government or we will remove him, said Mr. Jared Okello, Nyando, that is member of Parliament from Nyando, during a church service at Hallelujah Gospel Church in Banana, Kiambu. You say we will not allow people to destroy what the president is building. We will remove him. And there are talks about impeachment. Is that in the offing?
Well, thank you. Firstly, allow me to join you in congratulating Mwalimu Peter Tabishi.
Fantastic.
That even though there are many things going wrong in this country, a few good things can still be found. And to win that Global Vaki Foundation Award isn't a mean feat. And therefore, as a country, we become very proud. Back to your question, there have been efforts employed by the executive to tackle graft, and this is a cancer that is eroding us, our dignity as a nation, and denying Kenyans an opportunity to live a decent life. At the moment, and I saw from one of the cartoons that you posted, on our shoulders as a nation are graft and drought. And drought, there have been certain interventions by the national government to have dams in various places, some of which have formed part of the investigations. 2 dams, in fact more than 2 dams, have been funded, nothing on the ground. In fact, I was reading this morning that only 5% of the Arrow Dam has been completed, even though the monies that have been channeled that way or shoveled that way are much more. So as a country, we have to join the president in this fight. And I remember when the handshake did take place on the steps of Harambee House, one of the agenda items in the 9-point agenda was fight against corruption and inclusivity in government. So the fight against corruption is being done in order that this country can have value for the monies that are coming from the exchequer. And if you are going to allow few individuals to take full advantage of these monies clandestinely, then as a nation we are headed to the wrong direction. We have seen that each time efforts are made to tackle graft, we have had the deputy president as a deterrent. He has made sure that certain brakes are applied, misinformation, misapplication of facts have always been in place, up to and including the DCI, whose mandate is to unearth corrupt scandals, coming out to say that we are tracing the loss of 21 billion shillings. Unprovoked, the deputy president comes out to say, by the way, the DCI is wrong, it is 7 billion, and that 7 billion is insulated by way of insurance. I mean, who asked him this question? But if a person of the level of a deputy president, who should give a lot of support to investigative agencies, coming out to give such kind of information, then the resultant feature is he's trying to interfere with these kinds of investigations. So if the president has come out there and enjoying public goodwill to fight graft, and somebody comes out to thwart the president's efforts, then, you know, he should do what is due, and that is to resign. And if he doesn't resign and Kenyans continue to lose monies and somebody is coming to block these efforts, then he has to be removed from office. Yes, you have said that impeachment could be in the offing, but I think even under Chapter 6 of our Constitution on Leadership and Integrity and Article 10 on national values, he should take the responsibility of resigning without us as members of parliament coming after him.
Right, but these are just statements he's made. There's nothing that really, raises pointedly to him as violated any part of the Constitution as far as Chapter 6 is concerned.
Well, if somebody is blocking, by the way, let me tell you, blocking justice is a criminal offense. And my good lawyer is here. He can put more weight on that. You see what is happening in the US now with the Mueller report. Trump was trying to subvert the judicial process, trying to block justice, trying to block certain facts from coming above the surface. And now he's in hot soup. Why can it be a criminal offense in the US and not a criminal offense here when somebody is trying to block investigative authorities by dissuading the trajectory upon which these investigations are taking? So that in itself is wrong. Secondly, and most importantly, he comes out to say that the DCI does not have the constitutional backing to investigate economic crime. And then he quickly says that the matter should actually go to EACC. The reason as to why certain people would perpetuate issues of EACC as opposed to DCI is because it is very easy to block EACC from performing its functions.
Thank you. Right. So I want you to be very categorical with me. So is there any plot besides the Chapter 6 of the Constitution that you've mentioned? Is there any plot and talks around impeachment of the DP?
Well, I talked to, as Jared Okello, Member of Parliament
yes.
representing Nyando constituency, who is equally concerned, just like the President and the former Prime Minister, about corruption scandals in this country. If no action is taken, then we shall take it, or I will take it.
You will take it?
I will take
What action will you take?
Well, you've just talked about impeachment, and that is under our purview as members of Parliament.
Right. All right, we shall talk about that and get granular with it in a moment. Okay, let's just hear from Jeremiah Kioni, what is really ongoing right now. It's not just Jared who's mentioned this. We've had also members of the Jubilee Party, like the nominated Member of Parliament, Minor Commander, saying, yes, if he's actually not really supporting the president, then he should resign. Do you think, from your own estimation, that the statements carried around carry any gravitas? Should he resign?
Well, one is that the bar, I think, is that I think we need to be on record that we support His Excellency the President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta in the fight against corruption 100%. Mm-hmm. I don't think there is anything better for this country that can be done at this time other than fighting corruption. In fact, I know on a number of occasions I have said that if the president was just to achieve or to win this war against corruption. It's not easy to win 100%. But if it was to win this war against corruption and the country takes a different route as opposed to government officers wanting to seek land from every government project, I believe that that can easily be enough legacy for the president. And all of us who are in Jubilee, to start with, before we get help from the NASA that is in pieces, we should support the fight against corruption. And I want to support, to again go on record as one who will support fighting corruption. Again, just like the president said, it does not matter whether you are his friend, you are his sister, brother, whatever. He must, that is the spirit that we want to have on board. On the issue of having the deputy president resign, I think a couple of things are crucial. One, it is the work of the opposition or the minority party. I don't think they are really, we don't have an opposition in this country. It's the work of the minority party to keep the government in check. And if my friend and colleague feels that it is time to move Parliament in that direction, that is within his mandate, and we will deal with it when it comes to the floor. You need to really satisfy the requirements of the Constitution for you to support and win an impeachment move on the floor. So it doesn't annoy me, nor does it irritate me at all. It actually makes it better for us, because once you have a minority party that keeps you in check, it is good for this country. As to whether we should then move on this issue on just rumors, that's again something that we would want to see whether the minority party can organize itself better than just dealing with the rumors and going to churches. We need to see a motion on the floor so that we can be able to support this. Certainly, as a member of Jubilee, and as one who got to Parliament through Jubilee,
yes,
you expect me to defend the party position on when it comes to fighting our deputy party leader, when it comes to fighting the deputy president of this republic at a Jubilee ticket. You naturally expect us to defend, because that is the work of us when we are elected. But of course not bribery. We would want to ensure that government resources are also not plundered. But it should not be lost to us that unfortunately the campaign for 2022, if it's not well handled, and I don't see it being handled in any other way other than the way it is now being handled, can easily delay the country's fight against corruption. There is now competing for 2022, and it is a question of who makes the other one look more black than the other one, or looking muddier than the other one, so that you try and get some political mileage. And that, you cannot take it away. That seems to be the defining thing now going forward, unfortunately. I would have preferred ourselves to fight this war without bringing the battle of 2022 on board. I am trying to say this so that if my very good friend, I like him because he's very clear in his statements. He's one of the best English speakers that we have on the floor of the House. The member of Parliament from Game? Yes.
Nyando.
Nyando, not
yes,
Game,
please.
from Nyando. I think the thing is that the deputy president has clearly said that he's going for 2022. And I'm sure a lot of attack will go his way for that reason.
Thank you.
The difficulty will be to differentiate the attack that is going towards him because of 2022 and for any perceived corruption campaign or mindset that people may have. That is the bit. And when you attack me as a politician from drug, when you attack me with all this, you expect me to respond. Of course, how we respond is also very, very different. But I think all of us must support DPP. All of us must support Kinoti.
Thank you.
All of us must support the war against corruption.
So the challenge is that you mentioned that you don't want to hear innuendo and rumor mongering about impeachment.
Just bring the motion.
Yeah, bring the motion. And you're being challenged there, Jared. Bring the motion. Since you've been one of them also that you're in this particular lane of saying the DP should resign. He should resign. If not, you'll be forced to remove him.
I don't want to be.
We'll come to you later. Let's hear from Dr. Shem. Good morning.
Good morning, Jabal. I was just referring to my constitution in terms of the provisions for removing president or the deputy president. They are in Articles 144, 145, that's for removal of presidents, either on grounds of incapacity or by impeachment, and 150 for removal of deputy president.
Yes.
Obviously, in terms of capacity, the honorable member would garner a quarter of the MPs to back that motion, and would need a simple majority. In the case of impeachment, he would require a third of the MPs to support that motion, and also to remove the deputy president or president 2/3 majority. Obviously, our case is a bit more complicated, that you have to go both through the National Assembly and the Senate. But this is not to say it's not doable. In my view, there has to be good reason for doing it.
Yes.
And maybe there is reason. Maybe clouds are gathering. But I would take a slightly different view. I think we're focusing, our leadership is focusing on matters that are not real Kenyan priorities. The fight against graft is a priority, and I'm glad that it's being mounted. But there are also other priorities. Just yesterday, there was this earthquake. We are told in some places, we told some parts of coastal Kenya should be preparing even for a tsunami. But I wonder how much effort we prepared to deal with that. If it was to happen, I'm not too sure our level of preparedness. So my thinking, Debal, is that I think we need to get our priorities right. Yes, I appreciate fighting graft was one of the 9 points when the president and the prime minister signed. But remember, this was not the only one. There were 8 other issues which nobody's paying attention to. I see Ukabila being deepened, maybe not in the same direction it was before. The national ethos, are they coming in? I take the position, and this is something that I picked from one of our very respected vice chancellors. The only way to stem corruption in this country is by having a honest national conversation, which I don't think we're having. People are calling each other names left and right. Even those who are culpable end up calling others names. They're very quick to do that. I think we need to have a very honest national conversation, but of course also allow due process. The court process that going on, the prosecutions, the investigations by the DCI, the DPP, and all need to go on. But if we cloud it with 2022, in my view, I miss it. Maybe I'll give advice to President Kenyatta for free in this regard. There is one thing that Kenyans love about our current constitution, the 2-term limit. Anybody trying to push the president in that direction to extend term through the back door or directly would be, in my view, misleading the head of state. That's what I would say. So let's not bangle the fight against graft with 2022. Let's be truthful and honest. In fact, I think a problem that we're increasingly having is one of dishonesty. Our leaders don't mean what they say, and they don't say what they mean, and that's a problem.
All right. Honorable Pogiso, do you think this call for the resignation of Deputy President William Ruto is premature?
First of all, good morning. And again, let me join everyone in congratulating Mwalimu, the chief of Nakuru, the teacher of the year, I guess the best teacher in the world. Yeah. And his story is very encouraging. And like my colleagues have said, it gives Kenya a better name today. In fact, I think you see the president congratulated him very much. We would like to return to this issue that you have raised. The Kenyans don't have the culture of resignations. It doesn't matter how bad it looks. Even when you think really someone for their own sake they should resign, nobody resigns. You remember our famous quote from a member who said, "I'd rather die than resign." That is the way it is for us in Kenya. We also don't have a culture of successful impeachments in this country. Any probe that's go through Parliament usually gets somehow scuttled. And even you would see, let me tell you, if you start even an impeachment motion, you'll see that it will be fought, it will be scuttled in any way, and so on. But it's good to try. I think the idea is good to try. Because I know that Kenyans Kenyans are very good. And the corrupt are very, 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 very clever people.
It's good to try, okay.
You cannot be corrupt that bad and not be clever. You know, they are really clever, and they already know that if you mix these things with 2022, you can divert attention. And I think that they're very clever, because if you go to the Sundays, church service, and I want to speak to my church leaders. I mean, the churches have become a place where people go to accuse each other. The churches have become places where people go raise issues which are non-spiritual. And it doesn't help anybody spiritually.
Ask us, Jared.
you know.
He was on the pulpit yesterday.
I'm beginning to think that people have found a place called the church now where they can go and speak at each other and so on. And so if, for example, they have done, if you go to those churches every Sunday now, it's about 2022. It's not about the corruption. And nobody talks about the corruption. They just go there and say, oh, it's about you 2022. It's not about you 2022, it's about you in corruption. So we need to then crystallize the issues, as colleagues have said. I think that the president has spoken very clearly. I think he's very crystal clear that he's going to fight this thing. He has mentioned just about everybody who's corrupt. In his speech, there is, his family, his friends, and everyone. Really mentioned everyone. So I believe that the fight against corruption needs to be supported, and it's about time someone would think about causing Kenyans to resign when things are going bad. Public opinion, by the way, sometimes public opinion. If today you ask among this panel, you ask, who's the most corrupt among this panel, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it'll be interesting. Omogeni or Pogisha or
using the body language.
Yeah.
if they teach a bit.
What will you? Yes. But you see, public opinion knows. Kenyans know each other. When you say who is the most corrupt, who is the most reckless in speaking, who is the most. We know these people. It's just that Kenyans have that culture of just keeping yourself tucked in most of the time. So I'd like to encourage that. I think we better move to the direction where if you feel like you can't serve a government, you just quit. If you feel like it's too tough for you, that hurdles have been put in your place, you really don't have a place to go. You just say, I'm resigning. If you find that too many fingers are pointing at you, please look at the mirror or look at something. So I do want to say that it's about time. We've been challenged by countries like Singapore that unless someone important in Kenya is found culpable,
Thank you.
we are not fighting graft.
Right. We did take a short break. When we circle back, we shall hear from Okongo Mogini on this as well. And do you think actually this call for Deputy President William Ruto to resign is premature and uncalled for? Let's hear what your reactions are. And you can cross over to our Twitter handle, which is AMLiveNTV, AMLiveNTV, our profile name on Facebook, and 20686, our SMS button. Don't go away. This is The Point, is what you're watching this morning here on AM Live, where we take a keener look on the current state of play of politics of the week that has been. And of course, we continue apace with the conversation around graft in this country and the call for the Deputy President William Ruto to resign. We ask you, do you think this is premature and uncalled for, as some quarters of the opposition have been calling for, and also some quarters of Jubilee have been calling for the resignation of the Deputy President? If not, if he will not resign, then he'll be forced to be, he will actually be impeached, right? They'll force him to be removed from his current seat. But we want to hear from Okongo Mogini. First of all, we've had Dr.Shem quoting the Constitution there around the impeachment of a Deputy President. From your own estimation, you think this particular call is premature and uncalled for? What do you think?
Thank you, Dabal. And first, I sympathize with the opposition of the Deputy President, because we all now acknowledge that the Jubilee leadership led by the President is waging what I would call a credible war against corruption. And it's something that this country has not seen for a long time. Most of the time we hear debates of small fish being the ones under investigations, being taken to court, and not addressing the issue of huge public resources being diverted into pockets of particular big people in government. And I think for the first time, the DCI has really gotten it right. We are now seeing investigations on colossal sums of money. You're talking about billions going to 21 billion. And money that was meant to do projects that are meant to be beneficial to the people that we as politicians serve. So I think as leaders, really we must all rally behind the DCI to be given space to conduct investigations and do his recommendations to the office of the DPP. And if there are people who are culpable, then action should be taken. But I'm seeing a situation, Dubai, where some people seem to be worried. They know more than some of us know, because people have come out to make allegations that this war against corruption is targeting them. While, you know, in a proper functioning democracy like ours, we need first to understand against whom is the DCI recommending charges to be preferred. So I think what worries me is a situation where some political class, and I think this is led by the DP, has come out strongly to attack the office of DCI and the office of DPP. I must confess that that's not something that was envisaged by this new constitution. You know, when you talk about what is in chapter 6 on leadership and integrity, and you know integrity is a big animal. Integrity involves how you portray yourself to the public, how you behave as a person, how you reflect the position that you hold. And then there is a statement in Article 73 that you as an office holder, as a state officer, your behavior must bring honor and dignity to the office you hold. Now, can you really tell Kenyans that you are bringing honor and dignity to your office when you are making statements that are geared towards stopping or scaring an independent office like that one of the DCI from conducting investigations? I think that's not very healthy, and we can all see that we used to have Jubilee Kieleweke, Jubilee Tangatanga. I think now we're having Jubilee Tetea Waizi and Jubilee Ng'oa Wafisadi, which is not a very good thing. I think we all need to see Jubilee which says Ng'oa Wafisadi. So to that far, I'm not very comfortable with the behavior of some certain leaders. And then when you go to that Article 150, you know, there's an animal that was introduced in that constitution, but we have not tested what Kenyans intended. You know, Article 50 that my good friend Dr. Chodo was making reference to. He says you can be removed from office for gross misconduct.
Right.
Now, what is gross misconduct? That's something that really, if we had a parliament that is not ethnicized and divided along political lines, we would have put this to test. Let's try and see a debate on the floor of the House that makes a determination. If you look at the conduct of some of our leaders, have they behaved in a manner that can lead to somebody making a conclusion that they have grossly misconducted themselves and the offices that they hold? Now, unfortunately, I remember we were here sometime, and Honorable Kioni told us that if anything goes to the House,
Yes.
he will first be guided by the party it belongs to, and not on national interest. And I think that's what we are lacking, a situation where Kenyans can cast their vote in Parliament, we as leaders, not on our political affiliations, but on national interest. And I think the national interest, we all agree on this panel, the national interest that we are defending now is a situation where we need the DCI to do thorough investigations against anybody holding whatever office in this country who is engaging in corruption, who has diverted public resources to their personal pockets. Unfortunately, if this issue was to get to the floor of the House, that national interest is not necessarily what will guide how members will vote. So I think a time has come, really. A time has come, really, when we must put Parliament to test, and we test the ability of Parliament to rise to the occasion. Dibala, I'll tell you this. When you go to the judiciary and to the executive, there is always resolve from the leadership to make a decision that is, you know, earth-shaking. If it's the executive, you can see the president is telling you, whether you are my closest political ally, if you are engaged in corruption, I'll fight you. There is a judiciary which says, which has given judgments in the past, which shows that they will not spare anybody. Look at the decision that was made by Judicial Service Commission on the case of the deputy Chief Justice of the Republic, Nancy Baraza. She misconducted. That was gross misconduct. She just misconducted herself, and the judiciary said, we remove you. The question, when has Parliament ever risen to the occasion? When have we been given an issue? And to restore our faith in the Kenyan people, we have acted in national interest. I think this is the moment. This is the moment. If Parliament was to seize the moment, it will change the trajectory, the way Kenyans look at us, and we also assert the, the independence of that institution called Parliament. I wish my colleagues here
seize the
I
moment.
wish my colleagues here
All right.
can seize the moment and put national interest first over our political affiliation, our ethnic affiliations. Whether that will happen, time will tell.
But I need this specificity with my question that I've given to you, or I've actually put to you. Yeah, do you think it is premature? Do you think actually he should resign?
I mean, issues of resignation is something that you should speak to your conscience. But I think, to be fair, DP, we have an office of DCI that is conducting investigations. What I expect to happen is that the DPP should peruse the files that have been forwarded to him. And if there is anything linking the DP to this scandal, then there we can come out and say, please resign. As of now, and that's why I began by saying, some people are saying that this war is targeting them, yet we don't, personally, I don't have an idea.
Thank you.
Who is,
Let's
who
hear
has
from,
been singled out for prosecution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right, so let us hear from Jared.
Well, let me firstly take a cue from what Senator Pogisio said.
Yes.
That you do not expect somebody to swindle public finances if he or she is stupid. You must be very extraordinarily sharp with high, intellect, IQ, in order that you can, take public monies and use it for your own selfish, aggrandizement. So, having said that, people always tell, from what we have read, because I don't subscribe to that notion, so that they use the same monies to fight any war that is likely to erupt surrounding those finances. So firstly, we did expect that corruption will definitely fight back. Once a scandal is unearthed, you definitely do believe, or rather, expect that those people will come out. And the first, call that I have consistently seen in this country is people rallying back to their ethnic cocoons and saying that we are the target as a community. Yet when they are stealing, they're just by themselves. So we have seen, and this is very much against the Constitution, that very important or key government appointments during the Jubilee reign, right from 2013, were apportioned to particular tribes. And you see the composition of the board of KVDA, an agency that is now shrouded with lots of scandal mystery around it. The composition is entirely from one ethnic community, which is against the Constitution. And therefore, if a scandal erupts in such an agency and people are being fought, then they are very easily, they would quickly say that, we are the target as a community. Yet the original sin was to go against the Constitution, ignore regional balance in key public appointments, and go to your community. So that therefore becomes the real issue here. Number two is we have had enough times that the fight against corruption in Kenya currently is a fight against Ruto. And he has himself come out to say this, that what we are hearing out there are just sideshows, yet he's the main target. I don't know why I would be very concerned about an investigation going on anywhere if I'm not privy or I'm not part of that scandal. I would be least interested. Similarly, for me, I don't smoke. So if you tell me that the prices of cigarette would be double tomorrow, it doesn't bother me because I don't smoke. I don't subscribe to that notion. So if investigations are being carried out and no one, from what I am gathering, has implicated Ruto in any way or in any sector or in any corruption scandal, no one, but he's coming out to really fight so viciously as if there is something he knows that we don't. I don't know whether the 3 days that Rotich spent with the DCI could have, because I don't work for the DCI, could have mentioned him. But you see, he's coming out fighting so viciously that every Kenyan is left wondering whether he's part of that corruption scandal. But the investigations are going on. 2022 issues are being brought in order to cloud this matter of corruption. Because it is very easy to say that he has declared, and let me tell you, in this country, as far as I know, it is only the deputy president who has come out so strongly to say he's going to be a candidate in 2022. No one else, unless you're talking about other jokers. His main target, who is Raila Odinga in this respect, has not said he's going to contest anyway, has never given any slightest of indication that he's going to be in the ballot. But he's now trying to use 2022 in order to win public sympathy, that because he's sitting at a vantage position to seize power, people are now using corruption to fight his bid, which is far away from it. I would suggest, perhaps he's listening now, that he would just keep his cool. Let investigative authorities do their work. And if at such a point that he will be implicated in a way, let him graciously resign.
Thank you.
But the mere fact that he's putting roadblocks on this journey towards cleaning the system, that we attain public purity, then he's as culpable, guilty as charged. So that is what I would suggest to the Deputy President, to just give investigative authorities powers to act. Finally, if you allow me.
But the question will be again, briefly, is, I don't want to call it mere pronouncement, but his pronouncement about him being targeted and the DCI is being manipulated, does that really warrant, as you say, or can we actually say that this really boils down now to what you're saying, blocking?
Oh, it is. It is a matter of blockade, because the DCI himself, apart from summoning a few individuals to go and record statements, particularly around Aurora and Kimwere Dam, he has never mentioned anyone out here. In fact, the Deputy President's name features absolutely nowhere. But his reaction, I remember when we were young children, and my mother could have asked certain transgressions within the family, and we will be very quick to say, I'm not part of it. And yet we know we are part of it. Otherwise, why would you be bothered?
Right, thank you.
So it stems from that. If you allow me, finally, we know that even if an impeachment motion will be brought, and my brother Pogisha has brought it so well, the forces of corruption will still fight back. They will. We saw it during the sugar report, when the report was scuttled even before it saw the floor of the House. And there were allegations that I don't know whether were proven or not, because I wasn't around by the time, that certain MPs were actually given some little tokens in order to thwart the entry of that report on the floor of the House. If a sugar report can be worked on in that degree,
thank you,
then what about somebody losing such a vantage office on the land?
Thank you. General Kioni, let me ask you, from the pronouncement of the President over corruption over the years, do you think what you're seeing so far is just a matter of style and no substance?
No, Dibal,
because yes, we've had, he will work on corruption. Yeah, those people who are implicated on corruption should resign. I will be very hard on them. But there is no remedial action, to warrant all those pronouncements after, he's made them.
But Dibal, let us give credit where it's due. Since 1963, I don't think we have had the statement. Let me just rephrase it. Since 1963, we have not had a person in the office of the president who has fought corruption more than the current president, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And without doubt, Kenyans now believe, like Mugeni has said, and I think Senator Pogiso, that he has won the minds of Kenyans. He has won even the leadership of NASA in this fight against corruption. He is committed to it. And, but it is also important that when you listen to him also, quote him properly, not like Senator Pogiso has done.
How is he quoted?
I want to read his quote so that I'm sure he has the paper with him. Let me just finish.
This is from which paper?
Don't feel guilty. I haven't said it. You're already a bit fidgety.
Which paper are you reading from? No, we want to be
one of the papers you gave me. I didn't come in with anything.
Oh, this Saturday Nation. It might be another channel that I'm not aware
think
of.
I'm
Don't
in
take me
the-
by surprise, please.
What did he say?
It says, if,
That's
and
23rd. That's 23rd, the Saturday Nation.
Yes.
As I said, I credit him with a good English. He should read this also. If you are corrupt, and the thing is, if you are corrupt, he did not say that my sister and my brother and closest political friend are corrupt. He said, if you are corrupt, we will fight you. You can be my brother, or my sister, or my closest political ally. But if you are corrupt, we will fight you. So that doesn't mean that...
Exactly what I said.
No. Okay, fine. You'll have an opportunity
Yes.
to restate it. But what I wanted to say is that he did not say that his brother, his sister, his closest political ally are corrupt. But he was trying to make it clear to Kenyans that he's going to spare nobody. And that we are 100% with him. And we're happy.
But
having
yes,
said that,
no, thank you. No, just a moment. We are happy, yes. But this is not the first time we've heard from the president saying this.
Yeah, but Dibal,
So we should be
in
happy.
this country, when did we see a cabinet minister in the office of from Treasury talking to our friends at Karura for that long and coming out looking really like something is really happening? All of us are expecting to see things happen. And I don't take it away from this country. Don't take it away from the president. We are on course and we should support him. If there are people throwing, I don't like what I see some calling members of parliament doing when they go to public places and in churches, trying to wage wars against institutions that are fighting corruption. That I will never support. But equally, we will not be having this debate in the format that we have it today if it wasn't for the failure on the part of NASA. NASA are actually a total failure on this account. When fighting corruption, they should have done what was expected of them in the minority party. That's why I'm saying, bring a motion of impeachment. It helps the country move on.
So people can make money.
No. Well, if you came over, allow me, Dibal, you know the thing is that if Raila handshake was to cow him, then he must have failed completely. We thought it was to make him a better Kenya, to fight, to do things in a better way, but not to look like he just came to Jubilee to fight William. Because that is an unfortunate thing that is looking. He cannot target one person and it becomes his daily activity every day. We expected him.
It is the other way.
MP Nyando.
It is Ruto attacking
allow me to
Raila.
just finish. You know, if NASA was doing what we expected, instead of just coming for press reviews, if you had these motions on the floor of the House, this fight against corruption would have moved a notch higher, would be helping the president. But now, coming within into Jubilee, which is a good thing. It has given us stability. It's given us economic growth. We are doing many things we should not have done before. But they should not have lost their sting as to what they should be doing as a minority party. I cannot file a motion of impeachment for members within Jubilee. We would want them to do it. And we would want them to be fighting it in a better way. But you cannot come within Jubilee and then start looking like you are the one aggrieved more than those who are there, while you had your position, which you abandoned. Look at it. Look at the cartoon that you have given us there.
But this is the cartoon is the reverse of what you're saying,
yes,
actually.
You are seeing it that way. Cartoons, you are supposed to interpret them the way you see them.
Hitting who?
See,
Who is
he is just popping from all the holes. He's just trying to poke holes within Jubilee, and it is our work to keep the holes closed.
Right.
But all time, whenever you look at
Who's work to keep the
now,
holes
wait a
closed?
minute. In every hole, you are only seeing the one head. Ideally, if NASA was useful, we would be seeing a little bit more of activity, not just one person popping their head. But these NASA fellas have really let us down as a country. They needed
just a moment.
The impeachment motion can also come from the Senate, so that Pogiso and Omugeni...
Let's go sequentially. Let's just have the cartoon while
I wish you'd
on
allow
the
me
full
to
screen.
just say this. We can also have the impeachment motion coming from the Senate. In any case,
Okay, we have Senator Pogisio and
but of late, Senate has been doing everything National Assembly.
Thank you.
Why not this impeachment motion?
All right. So this particular cartoon, actually, we said earlier, it's a what, Hydra-headed dragon of corruption, so to speak, but this is a whack-a-mole game.
Actually,
You can see Ruto is the one who's trying to work Raila Odinga.
Yeah, I think
on
he
this.
was hitting
My friends,
the corrupt
correct me.
Nepal.
Yeah, on this. Comment on this cartoon first.
I wanted to take it from a different angle, but still come to that. I think I want to encourage Honorable Kelo and other ODM MPs to listen very carefully to what Mheshimiwa Kioni is saying. It's quite key. This morning as we were coming into the city, I was asking my girls, what's your general feeling of how Kenya, the direction Kenya is going and where we are? One of them did say, well, both of them did agree there's disillusionment. But one said, it's beyond disillusionment. It's just hopelessness. I no longer worry about it. And this is a general feeling of a good, significant number of Kenyans. When we reduce our issues to Raila and Ruto, in my view, I think we are cheapening this matter. That's why I wanted to comment on that particular regard. You know, when you're talking about integrity and the DCI doing his work, and it's commendable what the government is doing, which needs to be encouraged. You know, was it a handshake? Was it a handshake? Nobody's talking about that. We seem to be focusing in a particular direction. This should be unidirectional. My view is that let's allow the DCIO, the DPP, the EACC CEO, and the AG, they're doing a commendable job. Can the politicians focus on what would move this country forward? I want them to give inspiration to my child and my grandchild and others, which I don't see in the leadership now. Perhaps the entire lot of, including us on this table, including Shem, maybe we just step aside. Can we allow new leadership? If we cannot inspire Kenya and move it forward, we're losing golden opportunity to drive this country forward, to make it great. We are talking about very little things, just fighting back and left,
yes,
but not addressing the real issues. In terms of fighting graft, there are institutions doing their work, there's the judiciary, but now we are even messing up that very judiciary. So I'm not inspired at all.
Honorable Senator Pogiso, we are not inspired at all.
No.
First of all, if you were to support the president on this, you as Senate, you as, of course, the National Assembly, we need to see action as well. That is in tandem with what the president is saying. From your end, if we have Jared now saying that the deputy president should be impeached, they should come up with a motion, first of all. Because all this talk about corruption in this country is just treading waters.
Yeah.
We are just treading waters and moving nowhere, right? We'll have all these exercises, handcuffs, people, you know, being paraded on media that are being arraigned in court. But after that, it tapers off. It's the same story. We'll have commissions being put, you know, or set up to come and investigate this or probe this particular corruption cases. You know, meetings after meetings, having live also, you know, media coverage on this. But nothing else really comes from this. I think Kenyans are tired. Kenyans want to see action, not treading waters over the years. We tread waters, or not treading waters over the matters of Goldenberg. You've seen those exercises in courts. Then, up to today, what action has been actually taken on Goldenberg? We still don't have our money. So parliamentarians, and we'll come to you again, because it seems then we're not getting any action from Parliament decisively on corruption. And I think this is an opportunity, a handy opportunity for you to put forth a firm hand and help the president.
Diba, first of all, I must agree once in a while with Honorable Kioni.
Once in a while.
Yeah, on some things. and that is on the fact that this is probably the best the president of Kenya has put to fight corruption. I mean, in history. And the President Kenyatta has the intentions to fight corruption. Now, he leaves this thing, you know, really, ideally, if a president makes a pronouncement like that, there are policymakers and there are institutions in government that must take up that declaration and break it down into ways that make it legal and so on. And so it's a challenge upon now. Once he has made that declaration, we should be now, Parliament should come on board, the DCI and others come on board, Anti-Corruption Authority come on board, everyone come. So we need to support him. That he has declared that in his mind, he has no two ways about corruption, as before. We have a problem in Parliament. We have a problem in Parliament because if you listen, for example, we are in the Jubilee Party, for example, we're part of this big Jubilee. If you listen to the people on top of the Jubilee Party, the party leadership, for example, in Parliament. Take, for example, you know, you hear about a weekend, the leader of the majority in the Senate. That's the person we're relying on to give us direction, right? So, and it's the same thing with the leader majority on the side. So you find it's so
remember you elected him.
Yeah, you elected him.
I mean, but
That's what we're asking. Where is the action?
Exactly.
If the leader of the majority, he's taken a position on corruption.
He has a position.
Yes.
And
You were given. Yes. They were given. But no, you're not in the Senate. They were given.
Yes.
Okay.
anyway,
altogether.
31st of August.
They were instructed.
All right. No,
let's just come back to what
Yes,
it is.
please.
What it is really is that I think some of the things that Mheshimiwa Kioni has said, that the opposition party, the minority party, has the responsibility, really, to institute some of these things. You may not even make a dent, but the intent is there to show that the seriousness of this fight against corruption. Coming back to the cartoon is not very... You see that cartoon, there's only one person working very hard, you know. And,
Working on an individual.
and it's not even really, it is that there is a nightmarish problem there, where the Honorable Raila seems to be popping up everywhere. I mean, you're eating lunch, the guy's popped up, you're doing this, you want to turn around.
So we don't know what...
So it's the idea is where are you going to find the one to hit? Yeah. Because they're all over the place. And I think that's the complication having here, because now the issues are too many and they're all held up there in
so Raila is a mole, actually.
So
he's a mole, and he's about to pop up everywhere.
He's popping up everywhere.
There are two holes, actually. It's not
now
pop
there
up
is
yet.
one hole, I think, there in the center. If you were to pop up from there,
He will destabilize the president.
But serious, I mean, we have to agree that my colleague Omogeni has said this. For once, I think Parliament is now under the microscope. The entire Parliament is under the microscope. And I think we need now to do something that Kenyans can think of redeeming Parliament,
right,
and the image of Parliament.
Okay. Senator Okongo Omogeni, we always talk about the fight against corruption in this country. You know, we have good intentions, but there is no political will. And I think now the position of the president, that is the epitome of political will. You've always been bellyaching and complaining here and crying foul that there's no political will in this country to fight corruption. What other political will do we expect other than this? Isn't this the zenith? Yep. Yeah, the apex of actually political will?
The president is doing very well, but we just need to add some more fuel to his car so that it can arrive at the right destination. You know, there are two ways you can fight corruption. One, political will, which will be at the political table, and the other one is prosecution, which should be in court. Dibali, if you go to Rwanda, if Rotich was in Rwanda, he would not be a cabinet secretary by now.
He will be in the slummers.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, he will be in the jail.
So what we are now waiting from the president, for God's sake, the moment you have somebody who is so adversely mentioned in particular scandals, what we expect from His Excellency the President is to exercise the stick that he holds and ask those particular cabinet secretaries to exit office. So you make it very uncomfortable for some of these constitutional office holders. You can imagine if a meeting is called by the president where you find Rotich is there, DPP is there, DCI is there, you're intimidating these other guys, the DCI and the DPP. So I think a time has come when we now expect the president to take the political angle a notch higher and ask these particular cabinet secretaries to step aside. That will now open the gates for the DCI, DPI to feel that for real now we enjoy the very political goodwill that we have been looking for. I wish that can happen even tomorrow. Number two, we have actually tried also as members of Parliament. Remember that if you read the Maize report, where the Senate was carrying out investigations around the improprieties by particular cabinet secretaries, Dibali, you will find that C.S. Rotich is mentioned, and that is a unanimous resolution by the Senate, is mentioned as somebody who was culpable, and recommendation was made to the DCI to conduct investigations against that particular office. Three, there's goodwill. We are also, imagine as we speak, the Judicial Service Commission has written to the President to appoint a tribunal to look into the conduct of a judge of the Supreme Court. There are only 7 in this country. Imagine. And the issues around him is that the allegations of impropriety, on misconduct, and on money that may have exchanged hands. I mean, what better do you need than that kind of goodwill? Then finally, it is really dishonest. And this one I want to differ with my friend, Mheshimiwa Kioni. I don't see how you bring Honorable Raila Odinga in this war against corruption. The DCI was appointed by the President, Muigai Kenyatta. DPP was appointed by the President to spearhead the war against corruption. Do you want to tell us that Raila Amolo Odinga controls how the DCI makes decisions, that Raila Odinga controls how DPP makes? That is so cheap. And I don't think there's any Kenyan who can believe. I don't even think that by the time the DCI was summoning Rotich and others, that Raila Odinga knew that 21 billion shillings had been stolen. So I think that is a war that is very diversionary. And as a country, we need to put a stop. And I want to echo what happened in our church yesterday at page 7 of the, this is the people did. I mean, there are Jubilee MPs who were chased away from church, and the church told them, don't bring your politics here. You know, because we need to start having a public that can say no.
Is that is not the Hallelujah Church that Jared was attending yesterday? Is it the Hallelujah Church?
But what I'm telling you, so the point I'm making, Debad, the point I'm making, Debad, is that we want the Kenyan people. Can I be protected?
Please,
I want to say, yes. The point I'm making is that we want to reach a situation whereby the Kenyan people can say no to some of these shenanigans. You know, if you go to a public podium and you're trying to tell the people that this war against corruption is targeting a particular people, we as a people, Debal, should be able to say a big no. Let's allow the institutions that have been tasked with this mandate to do their investigations.
All right.
And those who are innocent can have their day, maybe in court or in another forum.
Earlier, we had Pogiz was telling us that Parliament is under microscope. Yeah, is under the probe of a microscope. But yes, let's see what is on the front page of the Standard today. I think we've sufficed what everyone has said on. No. We have stuff for time. So we want to actually focus on this. MPs, what is all this on the front page of the Standard and the People Daily today?
Well, I'm reading it for the first time, to be very factual. But first things first, we have a new constitution, and the new constitution came up with several commissions and several government agencies. And one fundamental requirement of the constitution is to align everything government with the new constitutional dispensation. I remember the CDF Act of 2013, after the promulgation of the new constitution, which only gave 2 tiers of government for disbursement of public funds, and that was the national government and the county government. The matter went before court because the CDF Act of 2013 had not been put in line with the constitutional requirements. And when the matter went to court, Parliament had to move an amendment that therefore ultimately did align the CDF Act to the Constitution and renamed it National Government CDF Act. I think that was in 2014, 2015. So that is a constitutional requirement. All the commissions, independent commissions, are aligned to the Constitution except one, which is Parliamentary Service Commission.
Yes.
And what the intent of what now is, being bandaged around is that Parliament wanted their commission, which is Parliamentary Service Commission, to be in line with the Constitution. Now, there are many things that came up during that period, or that discussion, one of which was that members of Parliament, both in the Senate and the National Assembly, even though all public offices, have access to house allowance, it was thought that members of Parliament should equally benefit from this housing scheme. Now, people commonly talk about mortgage, that MPs, have a mortgage and therefore are not eligible to house allowance. But, you know, mortgage is a loan, and I think this is something that has not been put into perspective. So if I go to a bank to get some loans to do certain projects, including building a home, that is money that I will be paying back at the end of the day. In fact, parliamentary mortgages are so fine-tuned that by the time you are yet to leave Parliament, you shall have paid the whole of it. And that is a loan. So what the argument was that why would parliamentarians be discriminated against when it comes to matters house allowance? So I think that was the gist of the matter then. Of course, this SRC said that, you know, MPs should not be given any allowance, and the amount of money that they're given in the name of a salary is a collection, is an accumulation of all those put together. And when they were taken through the mathematics,
thank you.
at the end of the day,
Jared.
only 30,000 shillings remained to be called house allowance.
Thank
and you
you.
wonder where 30,000
No.
would take.
Let's just cut to the chase. And of course, you've given us elaborate, background where this is coming from. I just want to know from you where all this implementation is coming through, and they've actually been splashed on the front page of a Standard.
Right.
Are they true? First of all, accommodation allowance to keep them comfortable in the city.
Well,
is there
you know,
anything?
you know, the Standard newspaper has said that MPs would want to be accommodated in 5-star hotels in Nairobi. I don't know what will happen to my house. So that is what I said at the very initial, that I'm reading that for the first time here from that newspaper. It is something that has not come before Parliament. It is not been subjected to any debate. And if at all it will come to debate that MPs would want to live in a 5-star hotel, I will be the first person to discard it and to oppose it vehemently for the common interest of the nation.
But following also the parliamentary proceedings, I think some of the issues here were raised also on the floor of the House. Issues of cooks to ensure MPs eat 5-star meals. I think that was there. I'm privy to that. So this is just not innuendo. This is just something that actually people are discussing. You remember when you're discussing about issues on the floor of the House that we don't have any good housekeeping, especially in Parliament?
4 of us in this panel are members of Parliament.
Please.
4 of us.
Yeah.
But I want you to know that MPs eat at the cafeteria at their own expense. It is something we pay for. It is not for free. I wish it would be free, but we have to pay for every meal that we take in that house.
Is that a crime?
It is not a crime, but
Then,
you know, when I'm paying for something, why would I still be vindicated? I mean, harshly indicted for paying, using my own money to feed myself.
But
what is the problem with that?
Where were you indicted on this, on paying? Where?
Well, you have just read it. Those are demands we are making.
No, this is some of the demands you're making.
The point Mheshimiwa is making is that I think we have a member success committee, but it only has space in the National Assembly. So we don't have that committee in the Senate. But whatever recommendation they make should be beneficial to both the Senate and the National Assembly. I think the point Mheshimiwa is making is that...
Let me jump you because I think there's a problem with the mic. Let me try and fix it. Okay. And head over to Jeremiah Kioni on this as we try and fix Okongo Morgan's mic.
Many things, Dibal, you abandoned the topic before you give us an opportunity to
which
say
topic?
the final word.
Impeachment.
The impeachment. No, I think we instructed exhaustively from
I know
that.
we have, but two things I want to say, and the quick ones. Allow me to say. One is that in that cartoon, DP is working very hard to ensure that Jubilee promises to Kenyans are fulfilled. They are not interrupted.
We are past that junction.
And that cartoon.
Even before the cartoon that was there.
There's
Two,
nothing.
so that you again misled us. And these are the papers you gave us.
What do you mean these are the papers I
You
gave
say that Jubilee MPs were thrown out of the church. It's actually the commander-led team that was thrown out of a church in Kiambu.
But that's Jubilee. Isn't that
Yes,
Jubilee?
but you know you are...
Who misled you? I didn't even mention Jubilee.
No,
I think
can I say you did and
No. It is one of you actually
it
saying
is
this.
actually and
those are Jubilee MPs.
the member for Nyando was not honest, brutally honest, because he was part of it. Jared Okero, Nyando, he was part of the team
Are they
that
saying I
was
was thrown out of any church?
part of the team that and they had to quickly walk across. They had to quickly walk across the road. Yes, they are there.
Those are all Jubilee.
The Kiwereke, this looks like No, they look like NASA.
The handshake team.
NASA is
I mean, that's all,
this is more
Jubilee.
NASA than Jubilee. And they are the ones who have thrown
All right, all
out.
right, let's have one
On a
person.
very
Please.
important, on a very important thing,
They are
Dibal,
donating them to us.
we must make sure that we don't lose the war on corruption on account of this. When you make it so partisan politically, we are fighting corruption ourselves. We are fighting the war against corruption ourselves. And this is what we must avoid as members of parliament. When you see churches saying, don't bring those politics here, we must make sure that we do not lose that war on corruption. On the issues of, again, Dibal did not give me that paper. I am seeing it again for the first time. He didn't give me the standard.
We don't have it.
I don't have it.
I don't have it.
You
But
don't have the standard?
I just want
We
to
don't have
say,
the
I
standard.
don't have the standard. But I think what I want to echo is what Mheshimiwa said. That one is that anything that you eat within parliament, you pay for it. I think Kenyans have been made to believe that there are free things given to parliament. Anything you eat, one may not see you paying cash, and especially when you have visitors from your constituency. But it is directly deducted from any payment that is supposed to come to you at the end of any month. And the other issues, again, as my colleague says, the issues we are reading here. But I think it is important that we appreciate that we have constitutional commissions. We have the Parliamentary Service Commission, we have the Public Service Commission, we have the Judicial Service Commission. All those commissions are also supposed to ensure that they have harmonized the way things are being done in the country, so that one commission is not doing things this way and the other one is doing it differently. It will be important for the media also to highlight how are these commissions comparing when they are doing things, so that we don't have the Parliamentary Service Commission doing what is not being done by others, or the Judicial Service Commission pursuing issues that are not beneficial to the country. It will be important to ensure that all these commissions are operating from one template, because that way we'll be fulfilling the requirements of the Constitution. Right. So I really don't think five-star hotel. I don't think there's anybody who would want to sleep in a five-star hotel in this town. It's our only place anyway, in the first place. It's not the places where people... I personally find it, if I'm there, you find yourself alone. And I like being
Let's hear from Shem.
Dibal, now that you allowed Mheshimiwa Kiono, I was just thinking, when the president was talking in Namibia, he says, my closest ally. And I asked myself, how do we know who his closest ally is? There's an assumption.
But you know who the sister is?
Yeah, but the closest ally could be the CSS that he was with. It could be the DP.
Yes.
It could be the former PM. So who really is the current closest ally? I think sometimes we read a bit too much. But in particular, we take very objective positions sometimes, and that's the point I'm trying to make. Somebody will see in the elephant an ear, somebody else will see something else. But the president also made very important things in Namibia, particularly concerning the forgotten Kenyans, the ministers who were being reprimanded, not caring about what the Kenyans there were saying. I really think, and to an extent, I must sympathize with some of the CSS who are being reprimanded. What in public? Why doesn't the president just take action? Is it because these are his two close allies that he's talking about that are untouchable? He needs to take action on this. Allow me also in this regard to make an appeal to MPs. And I wanted to, even though I'm not a current MP, I've been an MP, I know some of these dynamics of the House. But I think one area where, in my view, Parliament is failing, there's been a lot of talk about the lifestyle audit. Why don't we actualize? Perhaps if we just did that alone, we would solve a lot of these corruption problems. If people have amassed wealth, how did they amass it? If money is lost, is money really lost? The forensics would be able to help us access where that money is lost. But finally, in this regard, Dibal, I'm a bit jittery about what's going on in the judiciary. While on the one hand, I'm happy to see that attempts are being made to bring about sanity and prosecute those who are culpable. On the other hand, judiciary is normally the only thing that we can hang on in terms of it's the spirit of a nation. The only thing we can rely on is the judiciary, a strong, reliable, independent judiciary. When it looks to be under attack, directly or indirectly, advertently or inadvertently, then I get to be a very worried man. Suppose we lose the Supreme Court, like seems to be now evident. What do we turn to? So I wanted to make an appeal to Kenyans that let's not celebrate too much what's happening in the judiciary. It's vital that things are done the right way, but it's also important that the sanctity of the judiciary is protected, and particularly from the senior counsels. Let's find a way to clean it properly. I'm hoping that people who wanted to derail the judiciary one way or the other are coming back to do it. The sooner we fix it, the better, the judiciary itself.
All right. Shem, I expected also you to comment on this particular headline on the Standard.
This one, obviously...
your opportunity has passed because of a
That's fine.
But now you actually derailed the all because you're actually focusing on this.
You know what I would say. It's a time of austerity.
You are actually a non-member of Parliament right now. I expect you to help me on this as well. Because every of these person is within the frame. So and they cannot see the picture clearly because they are in the frame. The person who's outside the frame, you can see the picture clearly.
Correct. And by way of declaring interest, even when I was in Parliament, I was one of the very few who was opposed every time attempts were being made to increase PACs. It's unallowable, it's immoral, it's
because of time, let me just hear from Opogisu. Now you that candle has been blown. I gave you an opportunity, you didn't actually respond, you went off the rails. Let's hear from Opogisu.
Like I say that Parliament is under the microscope. It's going to continue to be under the microscope. Parliament is always sometimes misrepresented. It's sometimes misrepresented by the media actually a lot. Because when you look at that headline, you think that things are already operating. You think they already exist. But there's nothing like that.
It's like you have come from...
we are now coming from...
You're coming from the Stanley.
Serena.
You actually slept on
just walked out of the Serena to come here. But I think also, let's give it to these people. These are very hardworking people. These parliamentarians, and I think that if, for example, on the side of the dining, by the way, when I came to Parliament in the 6th Parliament, the dining was 5-star. We sat there and we were served like 5-star. The cutlery and everything. Over time, as we grew in numbers, those standards have fallen and degenerated. And so if they want to restore those standards, just make sure that the people eat healthy and people... and as you can see, the gym is very necessary. We have a gym right now. It's not like we're constructing a new gym and so on. So some of the things are exaggerated. There's some about those allowances. Nothing is being paid even right now. So I do suppose that the only thing which I see correct there is mortgage, which is the true. There is a mortgage. But the other things about staying in a hotel is not yet been, nobody even wants to stay in a hotel.
Mortgage you pay back.
People probably want other allowances than that. But just come to that, the problem is we've already cut an image that the public misrepresent us sometimes. Let me come back to the issues at hand. I think that we have not lost the war against corruption. I really want us to think that this is the most positive moment for Kenyans.
Thank you.
And I think we are looking forward to winning the war against corruption without victimizing anybody, without politicizing anything. I think it's possible to win the war against corruption. Just the challenge that my colleague is here saying, that the president has certain times got to take action. The things that he can do without having to go to court. In those ones, he can just act. And he did it once, by the way. Once he told people, step aside. And people did step aside. And I think it's about that time now that he came around to saying that.
Thank you. Right. Jared Okello, you parting shots very briefly right now. This is the opportune time. So will we have this particular motion just to put things in action right now instead of just talking? You're talking shop all the time about innuendos.
It is interesting. It is interesting, Dibal, that my brother Jeremiah Kioni is persuading me to move this motion before Parliament. Yet he belongs to Team Tanga Tanga. What that therefore means is that it will be an avenue for rent-seeking. And I'm not going to do that now. Everything is about timing.
Secondly, he's seen an opportunity.
Yeah, the way he's persuading me, I can see through him. But there is political goodwill to fight corruption viciously in this country.
Thank you.
Except that the deputy president and his surrogates, like my good friend Jeremiah Kioni, are pulling a different direction. There's been a lot of rhetorics from the president. I wish that he would move now to act. Because as my brothers are saying here, he has acted before. And you wonder why he's not acting now. But again, I'm realizing that each time he's out of the borders of this country, he gains some extraordinary courage, that he talks very strongly about the war against corruption. Yet when he's here, he's, you know, he's cowed. You know, he doesn't talk as much.
Thank you.
So he needs to work. Finally, if you allow me,
Briefly,
Raila
30 seconds.
Raila Odinga does not hold instruments of power, and therefore no one can blame him for the war against corruption. What he can do, and he has done, is to point at those areas where there are transgressions. The Deputy President talked about 21 billion. Raila came out to say that he has no models in a local standard to talk about corruption.
Thank you.
So that is the much we can go.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Senator Okongo Mogini, I think your mic failed, but we stop for time. Maybe you can give your parting shots, just trying to summarize everything. Yeah, 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Okay.
Respectfully.
Yeah, I think just to make Kenyans understand the cost of corruption, buying one Boeing 737, going by the business daily, is about 12 billion. So the money that has been stolen through these damn scandals, the 21B, is enough to buy this country 2 of those without any loan. 12 billion each, we'll have 24. And I think my parting shot is I want to urge the president to soldier on, and we're expecting now to crack the political whip and purge the CSS who are involved in corruption scandals.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's hear from Jeremiah Kioni. 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Thank you. I think the PM, former Prime Minister, has a mouth instrument. He's saying he doesn't have the instruments of power, but he has that instrument of the mouth. It is very effective. But I think we didn't have enough time, Dibal, but the newspapers have a very good article, a report on the fertilizer, that the president has allowed 4.1 billion to go to the fertilizer subsidy. That's very useful for the farmers now. The Kenya milk daily whatever board. Milk is crucial, and especially to us in Nyandarua. When I see the kind of penalties that are being brought or talked about, that cannot fly. They would rather abandon that thing very, very quickly because it is going the wrong way. And finally, I think there is something that we need to talk about later. One is that we need the war between us and Somalia. That is crucial. We need it. And finally, this issue of referendum. You've seen the post that you showed us?
Yes.
We are saying Toa Bili, Nairobi ni yetu. Hashtag Toa Bili, Nairobi ni yetu.
All right.
I can explain it later.
That is next Monday. Shem, 30 seconds.
My parting shot is the president said important points in Namibia, and talking for the voiceless Kenyans. I am hoping that for the first time, Ministry of Foreign Affairs is going to take the issue of this diaspora who are so disadvantaged in many ways, not just in issues of passports, even in terms of contracts for government or even jobs for government. You know, you require diasporian, somebody who say is working in Harare, to come to Nairobi to take fingerprints. I'm hoping we're going to get to a stage where it's at par, so that those Kenyans, both within the country and outside, have equal opportunities to partake of the fruit.
Right, let's hear from Pogiso. 30 seconds.
There are 2 levels of government. We are focusing on the national government, but we must also now put the county governments under the microscope. Corruption has gone down there, and I think that if you don't stop that one, which is really affecting people directly, poverty, and you can see now drought and hunger cannot be mitigated because money is going to the counties. Some of that money has been taken away.
Thank you. Right. Well, let me just also tease out some of the reactions here on Twitter that we have on hashtag, that is AM Live NTV. We have Dikush saying, is Bwana Jeremiah of the opinion that Jubilee members have no consciousness, hence depending on the opposition to put in a motion against issues of corruption in the country? Now you see where the rain started beating us. This is what Dikush is saying. And finally also Rom Spark saying, it's a bad idea to depend on Parliament for reforms and fight against corruption. These are different people, but driven by same agenda, selfishness. At no point you should think they have an interest in their hearts about those who elect them. Those are your reactions there on social media. A lot of them I cannot be able to read because of time, but I thank you also for getting to drive the show with us also. We're driving the conversation on social media.